You right there, guys? Oh, got a double echo. Bear with me a sec. There we go. That should be better. You right, guys? I'm trying to do something different every Sunday. I'm going to try and do a little stream now, so I'm sort of going to round up the news and just sort of go on what's happened throughout the week. So, just to sort of start off, I'm going to start with James Harvey. If any of you know who he is, he's part of Voice of Wales. He does Students Against Tyranny, and the South Wales Police rung him up and they threatened to what was it? They basically threatened to investigate him under a hate crime if he doesn't remove a video for calling illegal immigrants undocumented aliens. Like, I'll show you the video now so you can all understand what I'm on about.
Their concern was that somebody will take offence to it. So the reason the police were contacting you to give you to speak to you was to basically say, look, heads up, take that video down. If someone sees it, that it is of ethnic minority, or someone takes offence to it, there is going to be offences there against you for making that video. Because obviously hate crime is, if someone perceives that to be something, and if someone takes offence to it, you could be liable for offence.
Right.
So it's sort of, look, heads up, I'm halfway through watching that video now. You're going to have to take that down. That's a bit
So what you're saying is that someone could get offended, and so I could be charged, right? There's a couple of hundred people calling me a Nazi online, and that's really quite offensive. So I was wondering if you could investigate them as well, please. Oh, there's hundreds of people online. I can send you all the screenshots, all the proof. You know, I've kept it. I've got someone who's stalking me in Cardiff for my views.
Right.
But I mean, you know, if I could be charged with calling someone undocumented alien, which is the.
I'm telling you to take it down. All I'm saying is that video is it's a bit out there. It's a bit yeah. I wouldn't be posting that video if I didn't. I wouldn't be surprised at all if someone was to take offence to that.
People are going to take offence to whatever, but at the end of the day, offence is subjective. So, you know, I get offended, you know, people get offended over everything. So, it's not down to me. I'm not going to remove the video because I'm a journalist. That's my job. That is my job. As a journalist, is to expose what's going on. And, you know, this is costing the taxpayer hundreds of millions of pounds. So that's what I'm going to do. Thank you.
Yeah.
Cheers.
All right, cheers, sir.
Bye. Send those videos to me. Yep.
So as you can see, they're harassing a young man for simply pointing out that they're undocumented aliens. Like, everything he's saying is completely spot on. So I texted him earlier and I asked him a few questions, asked him what was happening, and basically I asked him a few questions so I could write an article for him, pointed it out. And like he told me, I'll read some of the points from the article. If you want to read the full article, it's on my website at Steve Law's report, which most of you will probably know. But James said, apparently me saying undocumented alien could constitute a hate crime, even though no one has complained. They said they were ringing to warn me that if someone does complain, then I could be charged with a hate crime. He then went on to say, well, basically I asked him after, I said, will you be keeping the video up? Which I'm going to show you the video in a second of what actually happened, the video that the police are on about. I said, are you going to keep the video up? Because in my opinion, he should keep the video up. He's done nothing wrong. He's committed no crime. This is just South Wales police trying to trying to control people's thoughts and control people's narrative. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous that it's even happening. And he said, yes, I have kept the video up. I refuse to move it as my job being a journalist is to cover particular things that no one else will. I've never had trouble with the police before. He then went on to add, I believe the police contacted me as I exposed where the migrants were being housed, these are his words, by the way, where the migrants were being housed as it was deemed confidential by Wales Online. Anyone who knows Wales Online, they're the same as Kent Online or any other media group that's similar the same. They talk utter garbage. Everything they say is completely twisted. They completely twist the narrative to the point where they try and make people feel sorry for these people. It's just about, well, I don't need to go on to it any further. You all know what they're like. They're absolute scum. But anyway, he went on to say, but I believe that the public had the right to know it was nothing more than an intimidation tactic by the police, a failed one at that. And I'll show you the video of what he actually done. Like, this is ridiculous because they've gone on to the, by the way, this is Voice of Wales footage for anyone who wants to know. It's not my footage. So basically what the police have done, they've gone onto the Voice of Wales website, searched through the videos, which this video happened on September the 9th, and then they rang him on September the 10th yesterday. And what they've done is they've scrolled through all the videos, watched all the videos and gone, we take offence to that. In reality, the police officer who's seen it's taken offence because nobody's complained, nobody's raised an issue. All that's happened is the police are being thought police again. It's ridiculous. But I'll show you the video so you know what actually happened, so you get the full context of what's going on. And before the police gave him that phone call, they turned up at his parents' house asking to interview him. And James obviously wasn't there because he doesn't live with his parents. So this is another thing of the police trying to bring more people into the problem to try and create a bigger issue than it is. He rang 101 after he found out the police were looking for him. And then that's where they had the phone call conversation that you've just seen. But this is the reason why the police got in contact.
Hey mate, how you doing?
Right, where are you going?
We're going to look at how much a room is here.
No, there is not for the private.
It's not for the public.
Yeah, sorry for that.
Any reason why? Any reason why it's not to the public, mate?
Sorry. I don't know for the room also.
You stop the videos for me.
No.
This is the promises area. No, but you go outside and take the videos.
Here we are, yeah.
For me or for the environment, that's good. So the thing is, it's not going to be more hotel.
So it's not open to the public, no?
Yes, it's not open to public.
Any idea when it's back open?
I don't know about that.
You
man.
don't know? You
Yes.
have no idea?
Yes, man. Yeah. Anything else?
Yeah, one more thing. So you said they're refugees. What country are they from?
There's from different countries.
Pardon?
There's from different countries.
Different countries.
Different countries.
So it's like-
France, it's Italy's. I don't
Italy?
know about Italy. Refugees from Italy.
That's
Could
mad.
be something like
That sounds really bad.
Places like
I would interject myself here and tell you why we laughed at that and why we found it funny, right? Do you know what a refugee is? Yeah. A refugee is someone who is fleeing conflict. That's what separates them from economic migrants, yeah? Italy is not currently at war. Neither is Albania, and a lot of these refugees are Albanian, which basically means that they've just admitted they're not actually refugees, they're illegals. Undocumented aliens, they're illegal, yeah?
I don't know about things, but they're
Well,
all
you'd know
different
because
places.
you'd have language staff for them there as well to help with government documentation.
Yes, people
and things
come to help with
so
that.
what language staff do you have? What language do they speak?
So, Italy, Ukraine, South Africa, Albania, which isn't even at war like Italy.
So, as you can see, James isn't exactly an extremist. He's pretty calm in what he says. Even the words he used, they're pretty tame, to be honest. For most of us, they're pretty tame. But here's what's stupid. The South Wales police, they always go after Voice of Wales. And the reason they do is because in Wales, there's a few people, obviously, that campaign and stuff. But Voice of Wales, as well as a few others, are the most vocal against immigration. So they target them. The media target them. And they put them on some sort of pedestal to make them seem something they're not, which is absolutely insane. To be honest, I've met the Voice of Wales lads. They're all sound. Spoke to James. He's sound. Like, they're normal people. Like, they're not extremists or anything like that. Like, I know plenty of people that have a lot harder views than Voice of Wales, but Voice of Wales get a hell of a lot more stick than most do. That is bizarre. But the reason they're going after him simply is because he's a young lad. He's a student, and they don't want youngsters spreading that message to other people, because ultimately he can gain a lot of youth support against immigration because a lot of people relate to him. And that's what they don't like. That's what they seem to be going against. It's ridiculous, but I thought I would start the show on that because obviously he's done nothing wrong, but he's getting harassed. It's like intimidation tactics. Like, a lesser person would freak out and think, oh no, the police are onto me, I better remove that video, blah, 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 blah. But the reality is he's done nothing wrong. He should keep it on there. And if anything, we should all start calling them aliens now, because when someone says don't do something, all you want to do is do it, don't you? That's the reality of the situation. But the definition, they're illegal immigrants. You can call them undocumented aliens. You can call them migrants. It doesn't really matter. The fact is they shouldn't be in our country. They shouldn't be here. They definitely shouldn't be in hotels. We shouldn't be paying a penny towards them. Like, these are all facts that people should know. So it is what it is, really. But moving on, right? It's happening again, guys. Black Lives Matter are protesting through London. This time we've got our own George Floyd. We've got Chris Carver. He's part of, I don't know if any of you know about grime and drill rap and things like that. I'm not an expert on it, but there's a group called 6-7, and this Chris Cabba, I can't pronounce his name to save my life, but he's previously had gun charges, and the vehicle that he was in was flagged for a recent firearms incident. So the police went after him, and he got shot ultimately. And now, because he was apparently unarmed, I don't know the full facts. The full story hasn't come out. There's a lot of gossip and hearsay, etc., etc. But Black Lives Matter are marching through the streets again. It's happening all over again. And look, I'll show you a couple of the videos.
A lot of people are here today because the Queen has died. You know what's normal? Dying of a natural death at 96 years old. Do you know what's not normal? A 24-year-old black man being murdered by the police. That ain't normal. This is normal. No justice.
So, as you can see, what's not normal is the police getting shot. But also, what's not normal is being a gang member, walking around with a firearm. Like, if you hear some of the lyrics that he's like rapping about, you'll understand like this geezer's clearly a problem. He's an obvious mass cocaine drug dealer, etc. So there's a lot behind the scenes that they're not talking about. But obviously, the Black Lives Matter love career criminals, don't they? So we've got our own George Floyd, and now they're going to use him as much as they can. Whilst everyone was mourning over the Queen, and now everyone's got different views on the Queen. I'm not going to get into that debate. But whilst what was going on in London was going on, everyone from BLM was doing this. So, as you can see, they've taken over London again. And here's the bizarre thing. The demo in London against illegal immigration, it's been cancelled out of respect for the Queen. I'm not sure who the organisers are, and I'm not 100% sure if it's truthful or it's just people putting out things that are spreading misinformation. But nonetheless, I think it should go ahead. It's 5 days after the Queen's funeral anyway. So there's no disrespect involved in any of it. The fact is our country is getting invaded, and we're just going to be polite to the establishment. It doesn't make sense to me. We should be out there like they are, marching, going through the street, not shouting Black Lives Matter, obviously, but we should be out there as loud as we can, doing what we can. And the reality is, everyone seems to buckle out. As soon as we get close and we get things organised, something always seems to go wrong, and it's a bit frustrating, to be honest. But moving on from that, you may have all seen this video about the Albanians. I'll show it for you exactly in a minute. But obviously, we've had almost 28,000 illegal immigrants come over to the country this year. That's just by boat. That's not including the ones that come by the tunnel. That's not including the ones that come over on the ferries in the back of the lorries, or even by aeroplane, or any other way they come into the country. That's just by boat, which is 28,000, which is like 500, well, about 400 away from breaking last year's record, which is absolutely insane when you think about it. You should never be breaking records. They should always be decreasing, always. The fact that it's getting higher tells you everything again. Like, it's ridiculous. So I'll show you the video anyway. These Albanians coming in, obviously 4 out of 10 are 4 out of 10, and since April to now are Albanians. There's videos where groups are putting their arms up and they're going, who's Albanian? And then almost half of the group put up their arms and go, I'm Albanian, blah, blah, blah. It's a safe country. It hasn't been at war for 25 years. these are all sound bites that we already know, so I don't really need to go over all of this stuff. But the reality is that we've already warned. I warned a good year or two ago that they were coming over with firearms. A lot of these are ex-soldiers or soldiers or what they're military trained, etc. This is clear to see that they may not be military trained, but they're clearly gang members practicing firearms before they come over. There's all sorts of problems, and I'll show you the video so you know what I'm on about.
Ti se di po unë përdor si komando armën Gjynë mes qytetit, s'makari për famën Tos janë deklarata, bon gjykat në ekspertiz Nuk lole po ten Ka pak për më party She don't want no friends It's in my car, yeah Cause I come with the gang I love to be party, man.
So as you can see, they're training firearms. They're obviously minted. They're coming over to traffic, to all sorts of crimes, drugs, you name it. They're involved in it basically. Like, it's no secret that these Albanians are involved in everything. They've got their hands in everything. So Farage put this one out on his Twitter, and obviously everyone from the left and the centre right, etc. Some people, they're just trying to defend it, and they're all like, well, you know, they're not all Albanians and blah 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 blah. And then people are criticising like the likes of Farage, etc., for pointing it out. And I know everyone's got their views on Farage, and I'm not going into that argument because we always go into it. But Henry Bolton made a brilliant point. And someone else just said that in the chat, actually, who said that? Alpha Go. Yeah, Henry Bolton, I was going to play the video in a second. He did a pretty good video on it because he's worked over there. He knows exactly what sort of people these are. I've spoken to Henry a few times, and he's a very intelligent bloke. He knows what he's talking about. He knows he's worked within the system, and he knows what he's talking about. He knows what he's doing. So I'll show you the video, and like, you'll get a gist of what I'm talking about, because I just sort of mumble sometimes, but he can speak it more elegantly than I can.
Albanian organised crime in the UK is responsible for most of the cocaine trade, most of the vice trade, most of the weapons trafficking here, and a great deal of the heroin trade. Albanian organised crime cannot be overestimated. The danger it poses is an existential one. It's one of the greatest threats to law and order and public safety in the United Kingdom. How do I know this? I know this because for a period of about 7 years, I was dealing with armed Albanian rebel groups in Kosovo, the Republic of Northern Macedonia, and in southern Serbia. I also spent 3 years dealing with Albanian organised crime in that region, working with local law enforcement and intelligence agencies on behalf of the UK. Now, there is recent footage emerging of Albanians in the north of France ready to come over to the UK, actually undertaking weapons training. What's that all about? Then you've got up to 5,000 Albanians, again in the north of France, waiting to make the crossing to the UK in the next few days. Albania is a safe country. I was also the advisor to the Albanian government, dealing with various crises there. The fact is that Albania now is a NATO country. It's in EU accession talks. It's a member of the OSCE. It's a member of the Council of Europe. There is absolutely no basis whatsoever for us to be taking asylum claims from Albanians. Yet, the influx of Albanian organised crime is dominating the public safety issues here in the UK. This influx has to be stopped.
So as you can see, he knows what he's talking about, and everything he's saying is spot on. This does need to be stopped. Yes, the Albanians are a huge problem. Everyone knows it. But so are the Muslims. So are the normal people that haven't got religions that come over. They're all a problem. Whether they come over illegally or come over legally, it's all a problem now because the numbers are too high. Too many is too many. And whether you like it to admit it or not, we can't take any more people. We need to get rid of them. We don't need to get more. That's the reality of the situation. So basically, you can see the problem. And now, I put an article out a while ago. Let me check when I put the article out. Whoa. There we go. The 27th of August last month, I put out that the Home Office, they've got a new gangway, and the Border Force are going to hide the arrivals now so that the press can't stand next to the walk rampway and actually film the illegals coming up. So what they've done now is, you know, the new multi-million-pound facility that I always talk about, that's got a new gangway where they're ultimately going to walk up there, go straight into the processing facility and straight onto the coaches. And the only way to see it is from the clips. It's a really difficult view. And if it's like misty and not great weather for footage, etc., then you're not going to be able to get the numbers. You're not going to be able to get numbers anyway because it's too far. This Chris Johnson caught the footage today. I'm sure he won't mind me showing the video. If any of the mods have got Chris's channel, put it in the chat to share it on his Facebook page. But basically, I got it from Active's Telegram. But basically, if you see the footage, you'll see how difficult it is to actually see the arrivals now. It's all done by design. And if they put some sheeting up or another building in the way of that, nobody's seeing anything. So as you can see, you can't see anything. Like the weather wasn't great today in terms of visibility, so you can't see anything, to be honest with you. Like even take away the watermark that Chris puts on there, you can't see anything. That's what they want. They don't want you to see this. The idea is they want to hide it. I've been saying since day one, this is a cover up. It's always been a cover up. Back when we was all locked down, well, I was, and I didn't listen to it, and I'm sure many of you didn't. But when a lot of people were locked down in their homes, they were flooding in illegal immigrants. And that's when the numbers started increasing. It was 8,500 a year that we first went into lockdown. 2021 was 28,500. And then, what was it? This year, we're already close to 28,000. I haven't got the numbers from today, but I'm sure it's about 300-400. I'm not exactly sure though. So that will take us to almost 28,000. These are all just by boat as well. We've got no clue on the tunnel. I put in a Freedom of Information request on the channel tunnel, asking how many have came in just from January this year to the 1st of August. So not a long time at all. A very small scale that I was asking, about 7-8 months. And they turned around to me and they said, it's not in the public interest. They hold the figures, but it's not in the public interest. So the reality is they're not going to want anyone to see this. The lorries as well, they're difficult. There's a rough figure that Migration Watch have got. It was around 14,000 or something like that came over by lorry last year. But you can't capture every lorry. Sorry, I had a bit of a moment there. Yeah, you can't capture every lorry arrival because the reality is they could stop anywhere in the country, jump out the back, and then no one knows where they are. No one knows who they are. And it's a real threat. It's a real threat that people, a lot of you that are listening to me, it's like we're like sort of an echo chamber. We all know what's going on. We're all quite aware of the situation. But a lot of the normal public and the normal general public, they know of illegal immigration now because we've worked hard to make sure the public know about it. But they don't understand the scale. They don't understand the actual real risk it brings. They don't understand the financial implications and the overall facts that we're going to become a minority in our own country. All of that, people don't pay any attention to it. They just go, oh, dingies, I'm angry. And then that's it. And then they move on. Red lorry, yellow lorry. But yeah, so as you can see, they don't want us to see what's going on. They don't want anyone to know. They don't want you to be able to get figures. They don't want you to even see the nationalities or the faces. Because I've been down the docks and I'll put out a lot of pictures where they've got dodgy tattoos or they're coming over and they're swearing and they're effing in blinds in or they're doing gang signs. I've put a lot of pictures out like that and so have others. So you can see that why they don't want us down there. They've tried to ban us from the docks. They tried twice to get rid of me from the docks. It didn't work. It will never work. And now they thought, okay, we can't get rid of these people covering illegal immigration. So what we're going to do is hide it so no one can actually see it. So they spent more taxpayers' money hiding it. And the reality is they're probably going to go to more extremes to hide it as well. Because when the numbers by next year, if the implications are the same and everything's going on in the same direction, then pretty much we're just going to see. We're just going to see I forgot what I was saying then. And then we're just going to see the numbers increase. So they're going to climb even higher. They're going to start using Ramsgate a lot more. Obviously, Dungeness, the arrivals down there are a hell of a lot more frequent than they used to be. Sure, beach landings are very few and far between now, that we know about, of course. They could be happening overnight and disappearing into the, once they've fled the beach, they're just disappearing into the back of vans and stuff. So we don't know exactly how many are coming over. But the reality is that beach landings have sort of calmed down because they're going out and they're picking every single one up. Believe it or not, the military are a hell of a lot more organised than the border force in terms of human trafficking. So when they step away in January the 31st, which is what they've claimed to have said they're doing, that leaves it back to the border force. So next year, I'm predicting it now, that there will be a hell of a lot more beach landings because the numbers are huge. The border force are only going to be able to work a certain amount of hours because that's what they do. That means they're going to have to get more staff. They've already got 370 new staff members to work at Dover as well as at Manston Airport where they get processed. And it's going to get a lot, it's just going to be ridiculous. And that's not even the worst thing. There's footage coming out and reports from Turkey where 100,000 illegal immigrants are trying to come into Europe as we speak. There's videos of loads of them making the route. Turkish government are helping them across, and the problem's going to grow rapidly. If you watch this video, you'll see the types of people that are coming over. Well, you know the types of people, but this is just a short video showing the routes that some of these people are taking.
فكرة الحملة اجتنا نحن من بسبب تعرض للضغوطات اللي تعرضنا لها بتركيا بشكل عام او بدول اللجوء، فاجتنا نحن فكرة انه لازم نطلع. عدد المشاركين بالحملة لحد الآن في توقعات انه نوصل لحد 100,000 مشارك. موعد الانطلاق ممكن نحدده لاحقا. نحن حننشره عن طريق المعرف الرئيسي للحملة. موضوع فتح الحدود نحن على أمل أنه يتم فتح الحدود، خصوصا في عنا تواصل مع منظمات المجتمع المدني وتواصلنا مع الأمم المتحدة. يميز القافلة عن القوافل اللي قبلها اللي طلعت قبل من ناحية التنسيق، من ناحية العدد، من ناحية الأشخاص المشاركين. يعني العدد لحد الآن يعتبر عدد هائل جدا جدا جدا، إنه 100,000 شخص إذا طلعوا.
So as you can see, there's various routes they can get into Europe, and that's just by land. There's obviously you've got the boats coming over as well, and it's ridiculous. There's roughly around 19,000 that came over by boat in Spain this year. I'm not sure exactly on the Italy figures, but last I heard it was a hell of a lot more than Spain's. France don't really give out figures because half of them just come through to us anyway. So as you can see, this problem of illegal immigration is huge, and at the moment, of course, legal immigration dwarfs it tenfold, but it won't do in times to come. Eventually, it would just be a free-for-all, and anyone can come whenever they want, and nobody's going to ask any questions, because that's the direction we're going. Open borders all over Europe, but nowhere else, just in Europe. That's the problem. And then you've got the facts that how many of these people are criminals, how many of these people are terrorists, how many are rapists, murderers, you name it. How many of these people are coming to the country? The problem is we do not know, and we're never going to know. But what we can do is look at the statistics of when they come to the country, and then you look at what they do when they're here. You look at the crimes around the hotels, the fact that we've got thousands of hotels housing illegal immigrants. People always say we're going to run out of hotels. We're not going to run out of hotels because we're building them social housing, and we're going to put them straight into a house, and then the next batch will go into the hotel behind them. Like, we're building thousands of houses, but they're not going to any British people, few and far between. It might be the odd 10 or 20 that are going to a British person, but other than that, they're all going to foreigners that come over to the country. Majority of them come here illegally as well. That's the reality of the situation. So the problem is out of control. Like, it's difficult to actually get your head around how out of control it is. Like, if anyone wants to know anything, wants any questions, put a question in the chat and I'll answer it for you while I'm here. But look at this. This is another thing. It's not just the problem in the UK, as we know. You've got it in France, Germany, Italy, Spain, Austria, all over Europe. And this is what they're like. Germans, for instance, they're freezing They're starving in their homes. The energy bills are climbing out of control. But you've got illegal immigrants complaining that there's not enough public transport for them. But watch this video from TikTok.
Hallo Leute, guten Abend. For everyone who is complaining, like go back to your country or go back to your home, or this is a place better than your home, I'll just add for you this problem. We don't have transportation to where we live. This is the biggest problem. The building itself is very nice, but the place is a problem. For example, now I waited 2 hours and the bus didn't came, so I must wait the next 2 hours for the next bus. Imagine just waiting yourself 4 hours in an Haltestelle. Just imagine this life. And for everyone who will say, bring a bike or roller or scooter or whatever, fine, buy me one and I will ride it.
As you can see, he wants people to buy him a scooter or something just so he can go a little bit further down. He's got legs, he could walk. He walked to Europe. I'm sure he can walk down the road to wherever he's got to go. It's absolutely ridiculous. But the thing is, he's going, oh, people say go back to your own country. That's because nobody wants them here. It doesn't matter where you're from, whether you're from England, Scotland, Wales, Germany, France, Poland, Austria, Spain. It doesn't matter where you say that the narrative is exactly the same. Nobody wants them here. They're not welcome. They're just here. That's the reality of the situation. No one wants them. You'd be lying to say that they're a benefit to the country, because they're not. None of these people are doctors. None of these people are engineers. None of these people are any good for the community. There's none of them that can do anything that our people can't. And to say otherwise is just an outright lie. It's as simple as that. If we need doctors, we train our own. That's what we do. You don't import more, even though these ain't doctors. I wouldn't feel comfortable being elderly in a care home, and I've got some Iranian that's come over in a dinghy, and that's the person who's going to look after me when I'm ill and fragile. No chance. And I wouldn't want that for my parents. I wouldn't want that for any of my family or anyone else that I know, or any of you lot listening. This is the reality. It's disgusting that we allow this to happen. Like, I think it's sickening. But to answer Wide Awake's question I've just put up, can the public not protest? You can protest at the docks. We've tried. I've thrown a couple of demos. We've had one in 2020, we had one in 2021, we had one in this year as well. Nobody turns up. That's the problem with it. And that's not even an exaggeration. Nobody turns up. It's not through lack of not through lack of advertisement or anything like that, because a lot of us with large platforms, we've all put the message out there quite frequently. We've used all of our contacts to get it as far as we can, and nobody turns up. Whether that's through the fact that Dover's too far away, obviously it's going to be even more difficult now due to the cost of living, etc. People ain't got the money to jump on a train and go halfway across the country to protest. That's the problem. So we couldn't get the numbers when there wasn't a huge cost of living crisis. We've got no chance of getting everyone down Dover now. There was meant to be a protest happening at Parliament Square that the Footy lads arranged, but it's been put out that it's been cancelled now. But whether it's a diversion and it hasn't actually been cancelled, it has, I don't know. So I'm waiting for them lot to actually put out an announcement and say when it's been rescheduled for. But the problem is with the Footy lads, they have to do it around the football. And obviously with the Queen dying and certain games getting postponed, that means these games are going to be filled in on other gaps where there was potentials to hold other demonstrations. So the problem is getting the Footy lads to come out when there's football on is difficult. That's their thing. So obviously you can't. It's not for me to say what they should do, but personally, I wouldn't cancel it. Not a chance. There was getting good momentum, and there was a lot of people that wanted to go to this. So, to answer your question, that's why we don't protest at docks, because no one turns up. But I'll have a check, see what other questions. Demo on Sunday. What's the demo on Sunday? Do they ask when they arrive who they paid the money to? They are asked certain questions when they arrive, but they all lie through their teeth. Like, I've spoken to loads that have arrived, like, as soon as they've arrived, like Active caught a beach landing. I caught up with them a little bit later, and we was asking them questions and give them a cigarette to try and loosen them up a little bit and get what I need to be said. But the problem is, these people lie through their teeth. They always tell you how much they're paid. They won't tell you how much they're paid to or anything like that. They just lie through their teeth and they say, what is it? They just go, oh, we're fleeing war from France. Oh, we're scared of our lives in a dinghy that they're getting escorted over, and it's just all nonsense. Basically, you could go on and say all of the same sound bites that we've heard 1,000 times before, but a lot of them, they don't all just pay cash. Here's the thing. So, for instance, they say it costs £3,000 to come over, or €3,000 it'd be, right? And it's like, say we take an Albanian, for instance, what they'll do is they'll go and work in a grow farm or something like that, or they'll run a county line or something silly like that. They'll do something like that to pay off their journey into the UK. And then once they've paid it off, everything else it makes free to them. So it's a bit difficult to put a price on how many it comes, because obviously there's all the summer sales that they put out, the Albanian TikTok traffickers and stuff. It's really difficult to get a pinpoint on how many actually pay certain amounts, etc., because they all do different things. Like some of them will come over and they'll get involved in criminal activity to pay off their debt. Others will, for instance, I don't know, get accommodation and then use that as a brothel or something. Like there's so many different routes that they do that people pay it off, that it's not just out cash. Obviously a lot do pay cash, but a lot don't as well. Whilst I'm looking for another question, I'll put the video. No, forget that, I can't find it. Just looking through to see what other questions were. They're coming through too quick, to be honest with you. Please get the army to get them out of the UK. The military are the biggest traffickers in the UK at the moment. That's the reality of the situation. The Navy's controlling everything that happens down in the docks, everything that happens in the channel. They're the ones directing the border force to go out and pick up. They're the ones telling the Coast Guard what to do. It's all going through the Royal Navy. They're head commanding what's going on and down in the channel. So when people go, oh, we need to, I warned a while ago. I said, do not call for the Navy in the channel, because it'd be the same as the Mediterranean. Like the reality is, when they're in the Mediterranean, all they do is go and pick them up and bring them to like Italy or Greece, etc. So what was they going to do when they was in the channel? They wasn't going to push them back. Which, here's the thing with pushbacks as well. The pushbacks are not actually illegal like they claim. They're not against international law, even though international law is complete nonsense and we can disregard it and interpret it however we wish. What they don't understand is, like when the media, they put it out there, it's banned, you can't do pushback. You can do pushbacks. The civil service and the border force and the Home Office all refuse to do pushbacks. It's not the fact that they can't do pushbacks, it's the fact they refuse to do so. So if we just got rid of all of those, if say we got a new government in power, we just got rid of all those and then replace them with people that are willing to go and push them back at sea, because that's the ultimate way to stop them coming by boat, is you push them back at sea, you remove the incentives here, and any that do arrive here get deported the same day. Not the next day, not a couple of days later, the same day. Within an hour, you're back on a boat and you're out of here. That's how it should happen. Anything else is complete nonsense. Like everyone's always going on about the ECHR and they're blocking deportations, which yes, that is true. They are blocking deportations, but they're not the reason why most deportations don't go ahead. And that's where another thing where the media is sort of misleading you a little bit, because it's our own laws that we obey by, and as well as these international treaties that we go ahead and listen to, they're the reason deportation didn't happen. For instance, with the Rwanda policy, when they tried to do that flight that left for Rwanda, the reason they got blocked, there was something like, I think it was like 100 that was meant to go. Around 93 of them got blocked by our own laws, and then the media made a big song and dance because the ECHR stopped 7. So you can see which ones are really the problem. It's our own courts, it's our own laws that are the problem. So to blame everything on the ECHR is just a bit silly, in my opinion, especially when we don't even need to campaign to leave these organisations, like the UN Refugee Convention, etc. We don't need to campaign to leave them. We just need to campaign to ignore them. There's nothing will happen if we ignore them and we disregard them and say, this isn't statute law in the UK. It doesn't mean anything. It's just a piece of paper that some globalist has signed. They didn't have our interests, didn't have any of our interests when they signed this. So we're disregarding it. It's basically going in the shredder and it's no more. It doesn't exist in the UK no more. And nothing will happen. Nothing will happen at all. There'll be a few mean words from Europe. We'll probably get called Nazis or something. And then that will be the end of the conversation. And then we'll be able to start deporting these people and getting rid of them. And that's what we need to do. And until people realise that it's just going to be, until people realise that you have to actually do this, you have to ignore international law, because it means nothing. These people, what's going to happen if we ignore international law? It's not an international army that's going to go, okay, right, you've blown it now, England, we're going to come and invade you. Because they're not. It's not going to happen. It's just complete nonsense and scare tactics. And they use it as a get-out clause. Oh, we can't solve that. It's international law. And then everyone goes, oh, okay. End of conversation. That's why they do it. It's bollocks, basically. And I'm not one to swear all the time, but it's bollocks. So, and, but yeah, same thing with a tunnel. I tried getting into the tunnel. They try and get to the immigration facilities, right? And you can't get even close. I get kicked out as soon as I get into the Eurotunnel. I can't get there. It's impossible to see. So it's hidden. It's all out of sight. Same with what's going on down at the docks now. It's all out of sight. Nobody can actually see what's going on. The only way we're going to get serious change is if all of these little groups and movements and political parties, they don't have to unite under one banner, but they've got to unite under the same issues. So if you're against immigration, like most people, everyone's against illegal immigration, let's be clear, unless you're an open border fanatic, and there isn't, I doubt there's any in the chat. Do you know what I mean? So everyone here, you would all be against illegal immigration. So we should all be under the same banner against illegal immigration. It doesn't matter whether you're UKIP, PA, part of the Team Tommy, part of what other groups are there? Oh no, for Britain's finished. There are other groups off the top of my head. I can't think of them because they're not. No one's really going over the top and getting what we need to do. You need one of these groups to just go, okay, we're gonna settle back and we're gonna go, okay, we will work with you. We don't agree with everything you say. We're never going to agree with everything you say, but we will work with you. Yeah, Identity England. Yeah, I like Identity England, to be honest. And say we'll work with you, and then that's what we do. But until these people actually do that, it's not going to happen. And I don't know what it will take to get these people to work together. I speak to pretty much everyone from most sides. There's a few people that don't like me. I don't know why. That don't really bother me. But most of us will all agree on the same sort of subject. And I will work with anyone that's moving in the same direction that I want the country to go. So it doesn't really bother me who leads the charge. It doesn't bother me who has to be the main man. It doesn't bother me what name we all go under when we're marching. I couldn't care. As long as we get the issue at hand dealt with and move forward. And that's what needs to be done. But getting everyone to do that, it's like banging your head against a brick wall, because it's just not happening. No matter how hard you try to get one group to talk to another, it just won't happen. I've seen in the chat, why doesn't Farage call demos? Farage will never call a demo. Never. That will never happen. The only thing the main sort of protest he ever sort of turned up through was the Brexit ones, weren't it? And we still haven't even got Brexit yet. Like 8 years down the line, it's just stupid. But until everyone comes together and they actually start making some sort of change, I don't see how anyone's going to move forward, because it's nonsense. Like every group, they all do individually, they all do some great work. Like everyone's done some great work. Like PA, they're a very good pressure group. They put in some good work. You got the likes of Britain First. They've gone to a lot of hotels and they put pressure on, and then the media start making a song and dance about it, and then the public started talking about hotels. Like you've got the likes of me, Active, Chris Johnson, etc. We've done some good work. You've got the likes of Tommy in the past, done good work. Everyone's done good work. Everyone's in it everyone wants the similar sort of things, give or take a few people. So moving forward from that, how are we going to get everyone to unite? I don't know. I would love to have the answers. I really would, but getting everyone to unite is just a bit difficult, to be honest. But I don't know what we can do on that. Pretty much just sort of banging your head against the wall and hoping that someone's going to do it. And moving on from immigration, anyway, there's this group called Animal Rebellion, right? I don't know if you see the video a little while ago. Take care, Angela. Just seen your message. Yeah, nice one. Yeah, Animal Rebellion. They went out and they're trying to block like farms, like doing anything with animals, etc. It needs to be. I'll show you the video. Could you imagine if we did that? We'd be banged up for about 10 years. Like, that's the truth of the situation. Like, how they get away with that, all their faces are on camera, etc. No, I haven't heard any of them being arrested and charged yet. I haven't heard anything about it, and I've looked. So it's a bit absurd. But imagine if we did that, it would be insane. We would all literally be banged up. And correct, not political, he said throw a Dover demo, I think he said. I've tried throwing demos, mate. Honestly, it's hard work. It's so much stress throwing a demo. It's unbelievable. You get everyone complaining at you. You get everyone saying, "Oh, why didn't you do it here? Why didn't you do it there? Why didn't you do it this day? Why didn't you do that day? Oh, I'm not coming if they're coming. I'm not coming if they're coming." And it's ridiculous. It really is. And then you get the old Bill on your case going, "Oh, blah 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 blah." What did BJ say, Marion? Sorry, I missed that. But yeah, it's just difficult, Jim, mate. I've tried, honestly, and I can't get everyone turning up. The last demo I threw, no word of a lie, we got about 50 people there, if that. And that's probably without, and there was some PA lads that came down, right? And without their banner, it just looked like we was having a walk down the street, honestly. It didn't even look like a protest. It was ridiculous. So getting everyone to come and stand under the same banner of stop the illegal invasion, blah, 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 I can't do it. I'm not the person to organise it. That's the truth be told. I haven't got a big enough following. I can't get enough people down there. That's where we're at. Active's probably in the same situation I'm in. We can't get everyone there. We've tried. Do you know what I mean? So even in 2020, that was a good demo, but the numbers were still not huge, what they should be. Like, I don't know the outcome, to be honest. The only way to do it is you need the footy lads because they bring the numbers, and then you need a lot of like these activist groups to just go, "Oh, I'm going to put my ego to side and I'm going to come and stand there and I'm going to be with these people," because they're the people that we need on side, basically. But getting them to actually come down and do it, your guess is as good as mine, mate. So that's why we don't throw Dover demos no more. I can't be asked to do it, to be honest. It's stressful. It really is, because, and then you get the old Bill saying, "Oh, you can't do this, you can't do that, you can't do this. If you do this, you get nicked. If you do that, you get nicked." Blah 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 blah. And then you ignore them anyway, and then you go through and do it all, and then they still try and kettle you. And although, to be fair, they left us alone at the last demo, but I think they felt sorry for us, to be honest, because there was only about 50 of us, and they must have just laughed. But other than that, for instance, we done the Start Rwanda protest. No, Stop Rwanda. Sorry, no, don't definitely. No, what was it? Yeah, Start Rwanda. Definitely don't stop Rwanda. But we've done the Start Rwanda, and we know the Rwanda policy is deeply flawed. And then you give and take. You take some of theirs, take some of theirs. But we want to see deportations. And the reason we went was to counter the likes, stand up to racism, care for Calais, because they never have any opposition. There's never anyone there standing against them saying, "No, we completely disagree with what you're saying." They just get free reign. The reason they didn't get it in the press the other day is because the likes of Active shouting down every time they was talking, and all of us there campaigning and saying, "No, you ain't doing this, you ain't doing that." So, like, we had about, I don't know, it must have been 10 to 15 at its peak, maybe 20 if I'm pushing it, and that's a stretch probably. And that's how many people turned up to that. There's some footage. I've got some footage of it in a minute that I'll show you. But we had small numbers, and we put that out for about 2-3 weeks, and nobody turned. And that was in London. It's just that it's hard to get people to come on the ground. Like, who cares if they're going to call you racist? Everyone's called me racist once or twice now. I couldn't give a shit. Like, if I'm honest with you, it's water of a ducks, but it means nothing. It's like saying you've got brown hair. Don't care. Do you know what I mean? Like, I really don't care. So the more people get that attitude and they move forward from it, it will be better. But we did wind them up. Active pulled out his Deport the Rochdale free banners with the Pakistani logos in the corner. And that once he pulled that out, they went absolutely apeshit. Honestly, that I've never seen them rattled so much by just pulling a banner out. But it was nothing that shouldn't be said. Deport the Rochdale free. Who doesn't disagree with that? 3 Pakistani Muslims that were grooming kids and raping kids, then got sent down for it and was meant to be deported and still in the country, still walking around in the same towns where they actually committed their crimes. Who can disagree with deporting those? Oh no, care for Calais and stand up racism can. Look, I'll show you.
watch out. I think the cops will try and nick your fucking phone.
I'm getting a bit exit. Refugees are welcome here. Yeah. You understand the Geneva Convention? Refugees are welcome here. Refugees are welcome here. Refugees not welcome here. Refugees are welcome here. Not welcome.
Oh, he's gonna. Oh, look at these fucking lefties. Look at these Antifa cunts. Here we go, look. Let's kick it off there. Let's kick it off. Let's kick it off. Out of it. Oh, fuck. It's too late. It's got. There's some major scuffling going on. What are you going to do, Kevin? Be careful, bruv.
So as you can see, we've done the best we can to ruin their day. That's all we could pretty much do, really. We didn't have the numbers to do it. Active lost a banner that day. They swiped the Start Rwanda, deport all illegals banner off him. I don't know if he got it back or not, to be honest. He'll tell you in the chat. Did you get that back, Active? And yeah, so we've done our best to sort of campaign against them, but it's not easy, is it? It's when you've got short numbers, etc. It's really not easy to get them to make a difference. Sky News, they interviewed the likes of Claire Mosley, etc. They even interviewed me after Active, etc. made a big deal and said, you never speak to us, blah, blah, blah. So they interviewed me. But it was only to keep us sweet because they never aired the interview and they never had any intention of airing the interview. Because everything I was saying, I don't know if any of you have seen it or not, everything I was saying is just anything that normal people would relate to. I was saying the fact that we want to see deportations. We don't know who these people are coming over into the country are. They're all illegal immigrants, etc. I was using the right terminology. There was no reason why they couldn't air that interview. There was nothing said that was bad, etc. I'd done it in media-friendly tones. So there was no reason to not air that other than the fact that it would completely go against everything they're trying to put out because they're trying to hide the narrative. So I don't know really why. I don't really know why they didn't air it, but then we all do at the same time, I suppose, because like we say, they don't really want to. They don't really want the truth out there, do they? They just want everyone to think that they're open borders and that's what people want. But we did. The reason we campaigned it, we know Rwanda's never going to happen. It was never going to happen. It was all for the local elections, and now they're sort of stuck with it and they've got to deal with it. Even the people protesting against it starting know it's not going to happen, but they're all paid protesters and they turn up and they do what they got to do. But the reason we countered it is because this lot get free reign. They never ever get a counter protest against them. They're usually the counter protesters. So the counter protesters are now getting counter protested, and they don't like it. That's the reality. They get free reign. Usually they get peace and quiet to talk to the press, etc. They didn't get none of that now, and that's why we turned up and done what we could. There was a few people that turned up, and everyone who did turn up, fair play. But basically, moving forward from that, I don't really see in terms of protest, how we're going to do it. Someone says, "What's the solution, Steve?" The solution's simple. It's remove the incentives, mass deportations, and deport people the same day they arrive, as well as removing the incentives and pushing people back at sea. And if they arrive on a lorry, you round them up and you deport them the same day. If they come in a tunnel, you bring them in, turn them back round on a train, you go straight back to France. They're France's problem. We should be treating these people as if they're French. That's what I would do. If I was in power tomorrow, I'd treat every single one of them as French, and they're all going back to France. I don't care if they're Iranian, if they're Albanian, they're from Africa or wherever. I don't care. To be honest, all I think is we should treat them as French and send them back to France. That's the reality. They came from France. That's reality. They're French. Let's claim they're French and move them out. That's what we should do. Mass deportations has to happen. And it's not, people get a bit like, oh, mass deportations, that doesn't sound good. But it does. It needs to be done. It needs to be done rapidly. There needs to be thousands going a day, not thousands coming in a day. There needs to be thousands going a day. And I wouldn't even give them a single penny when we deport them either. I would just get rid of them. It's not taxpayers' burden. These people shouldn't be here in the first place. So off you go. See you later. Hasta la vista. All of that. That's what should be happening. But I've been going on for about an hour anyway. So I put a poll up saying, oh, I've just checked it now. Yeah, I was going to say, I'm probably going to do a little roundup every Sunday for about an hour, just on the news that happened in the week, just to have my sort of perspective on it, and for things that people might have missed, basically. But if anyone wants to come on for a stream next weekend or something, give me a shout. It'd be good to do it without having to talk to myself, because it's a lot easier when there's someone else talking. But yeah, thanks everyone for listening and stuff. On the outro, I'll just show you. Oh no, I think I've shown all the videos. Yeah, I've shown all the videos. Yeah. So on that one, cheers for listening, guys. Everyone, appreciate it. And for those that put in some super chats, I appreciate it. I really do. Yeah, thanks for listening. And what's it say? I respect David and Tracy. Why are people running down? Oh, no one's running them down. I stay out of that. It's nothing to do with me. I'll just get dragged into arguments at the end of the day. But I'm not going into that subject. That's just petty. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, thanks for listening, guys. And next Sunday I'll do the same thing. But I won't be at the docks as much as I have now, because to be honest, my camera's not that great. It can't see everything from where they're hiding it now. I can't see everything. So probably going to go down to places like Dungeness. I'm still trying to get into the tunnel, etc. But getting some footage of them actually arriving in the tunnel is not easy. It's really not. I've also gone to the spots where lorries are likely to drop off, but finding them, it's difficult. It's difficult to keep track of it. We're basically being invaded from every single possible entry point they can come into. And until we all sort of come together and get a bit more vocal and stop being so polite on the issue and actually go, no, we're not backing down now. Like, we need to be. If you look at how BLM were marching through London, that needs to be us. And that's the reality. We need to be like that, not with the paid placards and stuff. It needs to be a bit more organic, but that needs to be us. England flags, British flags, sending back flags, you name it. We need that to be us. That's what we need to see. Thousands and thousands of patriots, nationalists, whatever you want to call yourself. That's what we need, marching through London towards Parliament saying we've had a bloody enough. And the sooner we keep doing that, the more and more the protests will grow. If you look at how the anti-lockdown protests grew, I went to some of the early ones when there was only like the odd couple of hundred people there. And then they climbed and climbed and climbed. And then before you know it, there was at one point 1 million march. I don't know whether it's exactly 1 million people. It might have been a bit of an exaggeration, but looking at the aerial footage from it, it wouldn't surprise me. And I've been to a few of those, and the numbers grew rapidly. We need to take the same approach and use that against illegal immigration, because until we do, these numbers are going to keep coming. Whilst everyone's cancelling protests, etc., and being respectful for the Queen and stuff, we're still getting invaded. They came over today. These people don't care about our way of life. These people don't care about being polite. These people don't give a crap about you. They just want your money. They want your lands and they want your country. It's not our country no more. It's Africa's. It's the Middle East. It's, you name it, it's theirs. It's not ours. If you ask them, they think they have the right to this. They think because of our past and the way we used to be as an empire, they think they have a right to our land. They don't. They should bloody go home. But on that note, I'll end it there. Thanks for listening, guys. I appreciate it.